So let's dive into the world of home care franchises. Now, for those that are not familiar with what are home care franchises, what is home care? It's essentially sending caregivers, generally they're non-medical professionals, to help usually elderly patients with different tasks. It could be getting groceries, changing their clothes, all different types of household chores to primarily the elderly population, but not limited just to seniors. This is one of my favorite industries. Why? Relatively low investment amount, generally $80,000 to $150,000, and the average unit volume, the average sales of a franchise in this space regularly are higher than $1 million, some above $2 million. So think about it. You start a business for $100,000, you scale up, and year 5, you're hitting $2 million in sales, making an 18% profit margin. That's a nice lifestyle for someone that just invested $100K. Obviously, a ton of work goes into this business, and caregiving service, you're essentially staffing. You're a staffing company, so you could start in the first year with 10, 20 caregivers, moving up to 50 plus as you grow the business. And the demand for this industry is not slowing down. The US Census Bureau projects that 2030, over 20% of US residents will be age 65 and older. As of the end of this year, 2023, the home care sector is estimated to be worth over $115 billion. It continues to be pretty fragmented, where you do have some top franchise brands, as well as a lot of independent mom and pops and some emerging tech players in the home care space. One tech player actually bought the first franchise in our list, and we're going to list these by total unit count. Home Instead was bought by Honor, network of about 600 locations, average unit volume $2.2 million with a midpoint investment of just $116,000. We estimate a payback period of 2 to 4 years for a Home Instead franchise. However, it's important to note that Home Instead has faced some challenges in 2023, with over 20 franchisees expressing concerns about unfair changes to the royalty payments, as well as other items directly to the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. Second on the list, you got Right at Home, key player with about 500 locations, average unit volumes not as high as Home Instead at $1.2 million, but if you're making 20% on $1.2 million and you just invested what the midpoint is at $120 for Right at Home, if you ask me, that's a pretty good investment. Again, this involves a lot of work. It's not like opening up a small fitness studio or a place where you like a stretch zone. This is going to involve a ton of work from the owner operator. They generally do not allow for passive ownership in the home care space. And then we have Interim, 339 locations, midpoint's a little higher, 163,000. However, their average unit volume is high. I'm talking $2.6 million for the average franchisee in the Interim healthcare system. Then you have Synergy Home Care with about 360 locations, midpoints lower at $92,000. Average unit volumes also lower at $1.5 million. We estimate a payback period for that franchise, as well as a lot of franchises in the home care space, to be 2 to 4 years. It does take some time to scale up to hit those numbers at 1.5. Could take 5, 6, 7 years until you're clearing those type of numbers. And then last on this list is Visiting Angels, about 540 locations, $1.2 million average unit volume, $142,000 to start the business. At least that's the midpoint range as disclosed in the item 7 of their FDD for 2023. There's a lot of other home care franchises. You'll have to check that out on Vetted Biz. We just went through some of the largest ones today. And I want to leave it out there that there are a ton of franchise resales in the space where you're going to have to invest more for the home care business, $500K to $2 million plus, but from day one, you're making money. So we've seen deals sell for $1 million where the owner operator is making $300K, $400K from the business. For owners that are making more than $500,000, so more than $500,000 in the business, the multiple could be higher. Or if it's at scale where there's a CEO, general manager, we've seen multiples at 4 or 5x plus. So it's nice if you have the cash, you can skip that startup phase, which, talking to any entrepreneurs, it's a grind those first 6, 12, 18 months, or potentially more. So thank you for watching today's video on Vetted Biz. We have a ton of home care franchises available, including ones that you can start from zero, as well as franchise resales in the home care space. You can see further on vettedbiz.com.